Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm your humble host, the pod boy in the seat today, Kevin Keatsman. We've got a great show lined up for you today. I obviously have too many things to say for just 1 hour today, so we're going to try to get those in just as quickly as we possibly can. I've got breaking news on the stadium front in Kansas City involving the Kansas City Chiefs. Stand by for that. At 10:30, Colonel John Cluck will join us, the former commander of the 139th Airlift Wing of the Missouri Air National Guard. He is tied into Whiteman and all the pilots and all the folks in the Air Force, and we're going to go over Midnight Hammer. I've got my thoughts on that as well. The first thing that I would say is I've changed what the monologue will be here with this information that I have about the stadiums. God bless America. God bless the troops of Whiteman and all of our troops all over the world. What a bunch of Missouri heroes, man. These are the best and brightest among us, and what they did was just truly amazing. Absolutely amazing. And what I love about the Trump presidency and this particular operation, the headline for me is when you're putting 125 aircraft in the air, and it's the largest B-2 mission ever to take out 3 sites where they're enriching uranium and trying to build nuclear bombs. When you've done that, you've made a statement that you're not messing around. I don't think we want to do any more here. I think we want to sit back and let it play out. There is no day. I know we're all talking about possible terrorism in the United States, and 1,500 Iranians have crossed the border under the Biden administration, and half of those we've allowed back to roam freely in the country undocumented. There's problems, but there were problems whether we did that mission or not. These people are terrorists. They are terrorists to the core. They have killed Americans for 46 years. They have held us hostage. Every president we've had has played tiddlywinks with them until now. And if this is the point where we say, that's it, we got to take care of this threat we've been living with our whole lives, we're going to end it. This is terrorists running a nation. That's what it is. And I don't think our streets from terrorism today are any more dangerous than they were before Saturday's strike. These clowns will do that. When you will blow yourself up to go meet virgins in heaven, because that's your stated goal is to kill Jews and Christians and Americans and Israelis, they're going to do that whether we did this mission or not. So let's see what happens. And I think the world is reacting mostly positively to Donald Trump doing this, thinking that Iran should not have nuclear enrichment for a bomb. Okay, we'll have much more on Midnight Hammer because we're so proud of these men and women from Missouri that carried out this mission. That's just amazing. They're so close to Kansas City. They're all Chiefs fans and Royals fans. They're us. They're part of our community. Definitely are. Much more on that coming up. I have received information today from the source that we reported on the last couple of months. I've been reporting about 5 contract sites that the Chiefs have on land in Kansas. And the option on those were expiring, and they extended those. They extended them again, and they have now expired, and the Chiefs have allowed those pieces of land to expire, and they have walked away from all of their real estate in Kansas. Now, that's the news. That I can tell you. I will report that. Again, the Chiefs have 5 pieces of land that they had contracts on to purchase if they decided to move to Kansas, and they have not only let those contracts expire, they've canceled them. And it leads me to believe that the Chiefs, I mean, obviously you'd have to say we think they're going to stay at least at the Truman Sports Complex, but probably at Arrowhead Stadium in some sort of a renovation. Now, I'm starting to think about why this may be happening, and I do believe I think we're going to hear something pretty solid in the next week or so, and I think it may come from the Royals. I think if this is happening, what could be happening is this. I know both teams have done polling about how well they do in a vote in Missouri, in Jackson County and or Kansas City, Missouri, or Clay County for the Royals, where they were looking north. I believe at this point in time, the Royals have found out they lose every vote. They can't go it on their own, and nobody's going to pass anything in Missouri for them. I think the Chiefs have figured out that Jackson County, standalone bill, will vote for the Chiefs and give them money for Arrowhead Stadium. It's going to be, it sounds to me like it would be just like what Pete's been talking about. Split it off, take it all for yourself. Chiefs go alone on the ballot, whenever that would be. But their polling suggests that they would win in Jackson County, and that there is a feeling among the public that Arrowhead is more important, more historic, more relevant to keep than Kauffman Stadium. And it doesn't matter anyway because the Royals have said publicly they're not staying. So the Royals may have played their way right out of these votes. It would be a huge gamble. I cannot state this loud enough. It would be a massive gamble at this point for the Royals to say, we're staying in Missouri and we hope we can get a vote passed to get to the 70% Kansas is offering. The looming deadline, June 30th, is for the Kansas City Royals. And there's reason to believe that the smartest financial play they could make would be to jump on this now, go to the Legends, and block the Chiefs from going there. They literally could block the Chiefs from having an option of moving to the Legends because these teams are not going to be together. They don't want to be together. Want to be together. And if the Royals make that decision here before the June 30th deadline and take the Kansas money, my money's on them going to the Legends and blocking the Chiefs. That's just my money. I don't think the Royals are in any kind of position to win any kind of a vote. I don't think the people will vote for it. And I think the Chiefs, and even if the Chiefs are wrong, it's not as risky for them because Clark Hunt just has so much more money than anybody in this thing. And if that's what he wants to do, a couple weeks ago we did a show where I talked to you about the different options that you would have for Arrowhead. There's a couple of models of new stadiums being built that the Chiefs could borrow some technology from. The first is in Buffalo, where they're putting canopy roofs up over about 65 or 70% of the seats. And it actually has snow melting capability because they get huge snows in Buffalo, but it would leave the field portion open and the stadium would be open. I'd go for that at Arrowhead. I don't really want to see an enclosed stadium that they can never open. It will be too expensive to put something on Arrowhead that opens and closes. So they're going to have to make a decision on whether to leave the field portion open to the elements and put some heaters under the canopies where maybe you could warm it up for the fans a little bit better. Or what Tennessee has done is they're basically building in Tennessee a greenhouse that's not green, it's clear. The entire domed roof is like looking through one of these greenhouses that has a clear roof. It does not open or close. All of the outdoor elements of the stadium are outside the concourse, and they're going to have all kinds of really cool stuff outside their stadium, all the way up to the upper deck where you can see across the river into downtown and all these cool vistas. I'm not suggesting the Chiefs would do that, but they might build some of those things around Arrowhead. I don't think they would close it off entirely like that. I could be wrong. I hope not. My hope all along has been that the Chiefs have some sort of facility that can still be open air because I love being outside. I think our weather is better than most places in America. We don't think of it like that. When you look around the league, it's not Minneapolis, it's not Buffalo, it's not Detroit, it's not a lot of these places, it's not Chicago. I like my football weather. I did not like the weather when they played the Dolphins a year and a half ago in the playoffs, and it was 7 below. I did not like that. It would be pretty nifty to have a partially covered stadium with some heaters in there that could maybe add 20 or 25 degrees for the fans. That'd be a pretty nifty trick. So we'll see what they're doing, but if this, we know the land's canceled. So that's screaming to me that the Chiefs, I'm not reporting this to you, but if they're canceling the land contracts, which they've done, it's screaming to me they ain't going to Kansas. That they're not doing that. And where would the Royals go? We keep talking about this. There's no good spot, and they're still 20% light of the 70%. And the state of Missouri has said this. They're actually requiring this. The state of Missouri, in order to approve the 50% to the Royals, is going to require that to approve the city get involved and have funding for the stadium as well. How is that going to happen? I know Mayor Lucas has said he's going to do it. How is that going to happen for the Royals? He talked about the rental car tax that's on T-Mobile Center, but that's still years away from expiring. Yes, through committee, they could give that to the Royals. Where are the Royals going to come up with the county or city funding? And for whatever reason, they don't seem to like the spot in North Kansas City, and they have polling there that says they lose the vote there too. The Royals have a 70% offer on the table through June 30th. It's the Royals. Think about it. What do you know about baseball? Just think about it. How are they going to walk away from 70% if they can find some place in Kansas to build a stadium? They're going to have to sacrifice the location or the dream of a downtown ballpark or whatever, and perhaps go to a location that makes financial sense for them, that they can build the stadium that has all the bells and whistles that will generate revenue for them, and land around it where they can do development. And this screams to me the Royals are going to beat the Chiefs to the punch, that they're going to take the Legends off the table. And the Chiefs, and maybe the Chiefs know this. I'm sure they're communicating. I'm sure, Mark Donovan, Clark Hunt, John Sherman are communicating on exactly how this is going to go down. I have a very strong feeling that those talks are taking place between them. It's probably limited to a very small number of people. And I'm shocked. I'll just tell you right now, I'm shocked. I'm shocked the Chiefs canceled that land. I'm shocked. But that sounds to me like they've made a decision that they're staying at Arrowhead. And whether it was forced by the Royals saying we're taking the Kansas money and going to the Legends and that's off the table for you, I don't know. I think if that happens, we'll find out in the long run. I've said all along, I don't think it's a bad thing for our community to have one team on each side of the state line. Predicting this has been insane. I'm not trying to predict it. I'm merely thinking through what this news means. But if the Chiefs are done with the land in Kansas, it does not sound like they're moving to Kansas. Doesn't sound like that to me. That, according to the source, my source that's been right all along about these real estate contracts and the people in the state of Kansas, the representatives who've been on the record saying, we've had them on the record saying we're pretty much done with one team getting them here and the other one we're very close on. I don't know if that flipped in the last 3 months and the Royals are now the front runner for Kansas, or if it was the Royals to Kansas all along. I don't know. The Royals really haven't said much. I know this. The Royals have just been eerily quiet about North Kansas City, which was surprising to me because I think that looks like a really cool place for a stadium. But they may have all kinds of information that Johnson Countyans or even people in the Northland have an easier access to get to the Legends and would, more likely buy season tickets or something. I don't know what their information is, other than both teams apparently know where they stand with the voters, and the polling that they have with the voters is pretty clear. The vote would be no on the Royals, would be yes on the Chiefs. 913-408-7957. That's 408-7957. If you would like to join us on the broadcast today, I'd love to hear from you. This is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. All right, welcome back to the show. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, Colonel John Cluck will join us around 10:30, the former commander of the 139th Airlift Wing in St. Joe, Missouri, part of the Missouri Air National Guard. Air Force Colonel, knows the folks at Whiteman. We're going to talk about Midnight Hammer with Colonel Cluck coming right up. But we're going to go to the phones right now on our lead topic today, and we're going to have Chuck in Blue Springs up first. Good morning, Chuck. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Kevin. I just can't understand why John Sherman and Clark Hunt would want to reward Kansas City. You look at that area where Truman Sports Complex is, there's no commerce there. The whole area is crime infested. The roads are in perpetual construction, potholes everywhere. You look at the Trojans, it's accessible to the airport. The highways are perfect. It's clean. There's no trash all over the place like there is over in KCMO. It just blows my mind. These are astute businessmen. There's got to be more to the story.
Well, when you say more to the story, what are you referencing?
Well, I'm not sure we're getting the story, actually. I think we're getting bits and pieces. But
well, there's no doubt. And I just gave you a big bit in piece, and that is the Chiefs have canceled their options to buy land in Kansas.
Yeah, I can't understand why. That's the thing.
Well, that's what I tried to do in the monologue. It sounds to me like the Royals might. If the Royals are making the move, it might just block the Chiefs from going to Kansas all at one time. The Royals are sitting with a bad hand. They don't think they can win an election, and they've got one state offering 70% and the other offering 50%. What would you do with your business? On a $2 billion stadium, that's $400 million difference. It's not some small amount. On a $2 billion stadium, you're looking at $400 million more from Kansas than Missouri. Now, do you think the voters of Jackson County and Kansas City, Missouri are going to give the Royals $400 million to make up the difference? I don't. More importantly, I don't think the Royals think the voters will. They emphatically told them no before. The Chiefs went down the toilet with them on that vote, but the Chiefs didn't try. Look, I'm the guy that told you before that vote. I was saying it on my podcast for months in advance of the thing. I don't think the Chiefs wanted that vote to pass. I never thought they wanted it to pass. I thought they wanted to break up with the Royals but make it look like they were playing nice. I think they're each going to get what they want in the end. The Royals are going to get the most possible money and feel good about it, and the Chiefs are going to get the place to themselves and be broken up with the Royals. And I guess Clark Hunt, if he stays at Arrowhead, he's going to have his dad's stadium. And they'll renovate. They must have some sort of if they're staying at Arrowhead, there is no question that they have a plan that is much better than the reimagined Arrowhead that showed some walking ramps and some tents outside the stadium and new jumbotrons. That's all they offered up for that vote. The Chiefs weren't telling you, hey, look at this. We're really going to do something here. That's not what they were. That last vote wasn't enough money to do that. Guess what they didn't have the last time they voted? They didn't have 50% of their project paid for by the state of Missouri, which they do now. No business. The government doesn't pay for half of my stuff or 70% of my stuff, but they will for a football team or a baseball team. That's just the way of the world, man. And these owners are winning. These owners are winning, and they were always going to win. And how this shakes out, I don't know. But when I got that information on the Chiefs letting those contracts go, that they're done with the land in Kansas, I was surprised. It tells me that if that's true, it is quite possible right now both locations and decisions have been made by these teams. That's possible that that's happened. That's possible. I don't know that for a fact, but it stands to reason. If the Chiefs are done with their land in Kansas, these teams must know what they're doing, and they're probably communicating with one another. It's kind of what it sounds like to me. And by the way, both teams have said they're going to clarify all this summer. They've said that publicly. Mike in Olathe is with us. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, I would say no pun. Well, the pun's intended. That is some inside baseball that you came up with today, but that's neither here nor there. I got a question for you. Are you insinuating that they would renovate Arrowhead, or will they do? I was just in Nashville, and I think the ideal spot would be to raise Kaufman and build another one right there.
I'm with
you.
New
Arrowhead, so to speak.
I'm 100% with you.
You're hoping for?
I'm 100% with you. I would love for the Chiefs to build a brand new stadium next to Arrowhead. Yes, that'd be awesome.
Okay. And maybe if that happened, it would accelerate the Royals being able to build theirs because they wouldn't have to wait. Because I think 2030 is when the leases are up.
Right.
Maybe it would accelerate all of that stuff, which would benefit everyone and make us happy because we'd have newer stadiums quicker.
Here's the problem with the Chiefs building a new stadium. When they poll Jackson County residents on a vote, what do they say? Renovate Arrowhead or new stadium? Because I'm going to bet the voters have spoken emphatically that they love Arrowhead and want to keep it.
Are the bones strong enough, though, Kev?
I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I don't know. The Royals were the one that came up with concrete cancer, weren't they? I don't think it was the Chiefs that said that.
All right.
Right?
I just was curious. I'm with you, man. I hope they do the right thing. But yeah, you're right. The Jackson County thing is a little bit of a fly in the ointment, big time.
Yep. Okay. Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate that. I don't think there's any question if the Chiefs were on Jackson County by themselves and they were staying at Arrowhead and it was a really cool plan, the voters would approve it. I think they would. I absolutely think they would. It's just the difference between the two teams and the stadiums and what they think at this point. Uncanceled continues. Coming up next, Colonel John Cluck will join us from the Missouri Air Well, we are all privileged to have Colonel John Cluck join us now, the former commander of the 139th Airlift Wing in St. Joe of the Missouri Air National Guard. He is tied into all things Air Force, and I'm sure he is one proud man today after Operation Midnight Hammer was successful. And he joins us now to talk about what he can. I'm going to guess that he knows more than what he can say, but it's always great to have you on, Colonel Cluck. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Kevin. Good morning, and thank you.
Well, let's just first, how proud are you of the men and women who conducted that mission and the way they pulled it off?
You can't be more proud. And not only that, the thing that everybody needs to understand is this is Missouri men and women that are performing these acts and having a worldwide impact. Missouri Air National Guardsmen and Air Force individuals from right there in the local Kansas City area are going out and having worldwide political and impact throughout, and things that we'll live with forever. So very, very, very proud.
Okay, so I spoke with people all over the weekend. Everybody was talking about nothing but this. And so I've got simpleton. You know me, I'm a simple guy, right? So I got simple questions. How do you fly west to Guam and create a diversion? And on top of that, how do all these planes take off from Whiteman and fly 16 hours and Iran has no idea they're in the air? How does that even happen?
Well, that's the beauty of the stealth bomber as far as knowing they're in the air. The radar return on that aircraft is you can't see it, which is why it was developed. So that's a wonderful thing. As far as the tactical deception of launching the planes going out to Guam when they weren't watching the eastern seaboard, that was really the way they came out so public about it. I kind of thought at the time, I don't think they would talk about where they're sending the B-2s that often. So I think they were really just trying to say, hey, look what we're doing here on our right hand and not anybody's watching our left hand. So that allowed the pilots and the crews to fly over there pretty much undetected all the way from what I've got. And I've looked at their route of flights and stuff like that. They were out of the water clearly a lot. And that would keep them safe.
Yeah. Okay, so 2 pilots in each of these B-2s. A couple of them flew for 37 hours. Nonstop. How do the pilots do that, and what's the maximum you can stay up there?
Well, I think that they could probably go longer. They have to get a bunch of waivers and different things. Clearly, 2 pilots between 37 and 38 hours round trip. Initially, they got airborne and hit some refueling tankers, as you can imagine. They went through 5 refueling cycles over and back. And, they've made as much creature comforts as they can inside the aircraft, to be able to exist for that long a period of time. But it takes a lot. And these men and women were just outstanding.
So what would be like the recommended protocol for one pilot to lay down or close their eyes for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, a longer period of time, on watch? What would the protocols be? Or just as they get tired? How does something like that work?
Well, I think they probably take some short little catnap type of things, but between the air refuelings and the interaction with air traffic control and some of those sort of things, I doubt that they slept very much.
Mm-hmm.
If you lean back in the chair and put your head down for 30 minutes, you can survive a long time doing that. And then they also, they have other things too. When they get to a certain point, then they have what they call go pills that they use those as well to kind of super caffeine type of a thing. So I think it was busy enough, and with I'm sure the complexity of the mission, that I'm sure that all of them were very well awake and ready to do whatever they needed.
Okay, now everybody driving down the road listening right now just heard you say go pills. Is that something I can buy at Quick Trip, or is that something that the Air Force has that the rest of us don't?
All these long missions, fighters do them as well. They are tested. All of our members are tested, and it's basically an upper. I don't know the drug name, so I wouldn't try to speculate. But it's basically a controlled environment where we can continue to keep the body performing for outside of normal limits.
Yeah.
A lot of members, most of the fighter and bomber wings have tested them. We test them at the 139th. You have to take them in a controlled environment to see how your body's going to react, to see how you deal with it. So then when we ask you to go out and do a 40-hour mission, you're prepared for how you'll deal with all that.
Unbelievable. Baseball players used to call things like that greenies. They had a tray of them in the clubhouse. I don't know. I'm just sharing that with the. That's not to stay awake for 40 hours. It was to be up for the game after a long night the night before or something like that. But that's incredible. So how do they choose? This came from my wife Jessica, who you've met and know. She wants to know which pilots were the decoys, which were the ones with the payload. Is it random? Is it specific? Is it by rank? How did they decide which pilots are doing what?
Well, that's a great question. I should have asked. I'm sure there was a little bit of all that. They have regular B-2 pilots. They've all come from a different weapons platform, whether it be an F-15, F-16, F-22. You don't go through initial pilot hiring and go straight into a B-2. So I'm sure they've taken some of the individuals, known sets of talent sets and used that determining factor. I'm sure that they had their weapons instructors. I'm sure they were all weapons instructors, which is a really intense course for that aircraft. So I'm sure they're all graduates. And, I know that who I talked to last night was the only disappointing thing was that he didn't get to be part of the mission.
Yeah, I can imagine. Is it also true that these planes take off, that the payload is so heavy that there's very little fuel, that immediately they get up high and get refueled once they hit altitude?
Yes.
So
they just like you say, in the takeoff environment, it's just that's the most challenging part of it. Once you're up in the air and you immediately hit a tanker, and you can fill up your tanks and away you go.
Okay, and then when they hit the button, when the 30,000-pound bombs are released, that's it, right? There's nobody guiding the thing. It's all GPS. It's on its own. It's just the
yeah. Yeah, it's all pretty much on its own. The incredible weapon systems that are developed through the the United States military, and you can hit that thing within a couple feet, and something that can penetrate into the ground 200 feet. You are playing a little bit of horseshoes here. It's not, you don't have to hit it exactly, but the bomb itself, I've done a little research on it. It's mainly made up of weight. It's the metal that it's consisted of, just so it has the penetrating force. But then it's also got the guided system on it to get it wherever you want.
And I cannot for the life of me figure out how this bunker buster goes into the ground 200 feet before exploding. How does it go through rock and into a mountain and then doesn't detonate until it gets down below?
Isn't that incredible? I have no idea. That's an engineer question, but that's you're exactly right. To hold itself together to go that deep, 200 feet is a long ways down and many different sorts of terrain to go through. But that's the deal. And then the first one goes in, then they send the second one in right after that. Now you've sort of got it. The second one had a lot easier job.
So this was the largest B-2 mission ever. There were 125 aircraft total that were deployed for this mission. And I'm going to guess that everybody that did this is what you train your whole life for. This is another stupid sports metaphor or something, but this is a Super Bowl or the World Series. They got to do what they were trained to do. A lot of people in the Air Force go their entire career training to do things that they're never asked to do. How rewarding is it for the people that were involved in this mission?
Oh, it's got to be tremendously rewarding. They, you always practice. Sooner or later, you want to get on the field, and this is getting on the field. I'm sure that when they were selecting crews to do these missions, and like I say, I want to once again, that's a total force integrated unit of Whiteman, meaning that it's not only the active duty Air Force that are 24/7, just like anybody else, but it's also the 131st Bomb Wing, which is a sister wing to the 139th. They are guardsmen that live and work inside the community of Kansas City and obviously Warrensburg. And so those two, they can't exist without the other. So there was a guardsman and active duty men and women on both of those aircraft. So I'm sure they were fighting to get on to be part of this crew, as if it were our mission, I would have been fighting to say, I want to be part of this. I want to get in the game, and I want to, be the guy that help win the Super Bowl.
So when would they have known? They made a big deal about, hey, not very many people knew that we had this planned, and they'd been planning it out for weeks or whatever. If they needed it, there's always you can probably explain this way better, obviously better than me, that there's a plan for something. That doesn't mean you're ever going to do it. So they've known, I think, what they were going to do for quite a while. But when would you know that it's go time? Like, when would the pilots and the crews and everybody know? Would that be several hours before they leave? Would it be like 45 minutes before they leave? Typically, when would you know it's go time?
No, I'm gonna make an assumption without asking them. I'm sure it was a couple days. I'm sure when President Trump gave out the 60-day ultimatum to, hey, come to the table or we're going to address it, I'm sure they started mission planning at that point. In not knowing specifics, I didn't get into it that deep. I'm sure they probably knew a day and a half prior. You'd have to get the crews into crew rest. Clearly, if you're going to fly for 40 hours, you got to get as much sleep as you possibly can before that time. So they had to get the crews in, get them down. I'm sure they isolated them, for many different things. They have some facilities there at Whiteman that they could go in and sleep and things of that nature. So I'm sure that they knew probably a day or two ahead, but they've been mission planning this thing for, I'm sure, weeks.
Okay, so Whiteman would know that they're in on what, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen from Whiteman. Would anybody at any other base, Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, anybody anywhere else know anything about this? It'd be silent pretty much everywhere else, wouldn't it?
Well, it's pretty much, except for the other support missions. I haven't really talked to my Topeka contacts, but I'm pretty sure that Topeka either did some refueling for the bombing mission or for the decoy mission out to Guam. So, and once again, people right there in the Midwest, right? Topeka has air refuelers. Whiteman has bombers. So between the two of them, I'm sure that some of those knew they would be put on alert. I don't know. I'm sure they didn't know what the mission was for, but I'm sure they knew that they had alert status coming. Then I think it's also cool how they integrated the Navy with the submarines launching the Tomahawks. I mean, it really is kind of a snapshot of Top Gun Maverick of how they did it. It's quite impressive.
It really is. No question. Colonel John Cluck is our guest. He's the former commander of the 139th Air Wing in St. Joe, the Missouri Air National Guard. So this was spectacular, but these planes are pretty old, these B-2s, and had never done anything quite like this, or at least on this big of a scale. There's a next gen coming, or we have new ones coming. What's the future of Whiteman? And this is historic now, because I think I read one time they're like, they may decommission these planes and have a next generation coming, and it might not be Whiteman. I'm like, you got to stay at Whiteman. I mean, this is the perfect place for all this, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So there is a next generation coming. It's called the B-21 Raider. It hasn't. It's in production. It hasn't hit any of the bases yet. Whiteman has been selected as the number 2 base to get them. And so they will continue. I don't know how long they'll keep the B-2 itself around once the B-21 gets out. They're going to build. There's only 20 B-2s, and one of them crashed. So there's not a ton of them left. And I know they're building a lot more B-21s. There'll be more than just one base. Whiteman's the only B-2 base in the world, and there'll be other bases that house the B-21. So, but yes, it's still coming. Whiteman or the guys there are absolute professionals, and you couldn't not put them there. That'd be crazy.
And are the B-21s, are they small? Are the new ones going to be smaller?
It's a little bit smaller wing footprint, but not much. And it honestly, if you saw them, you'd have to see them next to each other to think one wasn't a B-2. They're very similar.
Oh, okay. And would the payload be even bigger? Would they be able to? I assume if we're building new, 30 years newer, they're going to be bigger, stronger, faster, right?
Well, I know I was reading this morning that they are certainly retrofitted to house this new, this GBU-57. So I'm sure the payload is at least where it's at now, if not more, but I don't have the specifics. Okay,
we've heard the Trump administration and many people, Colonel, say that recruitment is way up in the armed services all across the board. What are you hearing about the Air Force? How's the 139th doing in St. Joe recruiting? Is this true, or more kids coming out of high school going, we want to join the armed forces?
It's 100% true. Yes, sir. They, over the last couple of years, the 139th dipped all the way down to, we look at it as a percentage of manning. We're manned to 100%. We haven't filled all the holes, and I weekly tracked how low that got. Over the last couple of years, we got down to 85% manned, which is bad. And, of course, we were out doing everything we could do, my interactions with you and things of that nature. So it has improved a lot. We're well over 90% now. All the services have already met their goal for recruiting for this year. And last year, we didn't meet them. None of them but the Marines met their recruiting goals.
Wow.
So it's just a different world.
And you're going to be leaving. You have a retirement party coming up in August. You're retiring for good this time. You're out, huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah, like I say, I stepped down as wing commander in January to give myself a little bit of time to enjoy the reason I joined the military and actually do some missions. As a wing commander, you spend a lot of time not doing the job. You taking care of the wing and things of that nature. And I wanted a couple months to just do the job and enjoy the flying and interact with the crew members, things of that nature. But looks like August is it. And so I didn't quite make 40 years, 39 years in about 8 months, but I'm proud of my service.
Well, I want to speak for everybody listening right now, and myself, me and Jessica and the staff here at KCMO. Thank you so much for a great, great career and all that you have given to your country. You're a good man, and you've made a huge difference, as most people in the military do. You've made a huge difference, and I think I don't need to tell you that. You know that, but congratulations to you.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the all the support you've given. As I was the wing commander, I looked at it as a team effort, and we all worked together. And you through your podcast and through your radio show and other members that you've done throughout time, it's been a tremendous help. And so we work all of this together and solve these problems as one team.
Thank you, sir. Pass along to everyone that you speak with that we're very, very proud of everyone that was involved in that mission and all across the world, those that serve our country. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate the phone call, and I hope your members, your listeners, got something out of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. He is Colonel John Cluck. That is just fantastic. He's incredible and did such a great job in St. Joe at the 139th Airlift Wing, Missouri Air National Guard, as their commander for many, many, many years. Recruitment's a big thing. If you're listening, we talk all the time about skipping college and finding things to do, man. This 139th Airlift Wing, they will help you with college. If you join up with them, they'll pay for your college while you learn some sort of craft. You could become an aircraft mechanic, an engineer, an air traffic controller, a pilot, and you name it. The pathway is there. They have scholarships available. There are all kinds of opportunities for young people to get educated or find something specific that they really want to go after. If you're a parent, if you're a young person listening, if you ever want to get your butt in one of those B-2s and fly over Iran and drop a 30,000-pound bomb on a nuclear site, go sign up. Don't hesitate. Your country's calling. And gosh, I enjoyed talking to Colonel Cluck. Great stuff there. Okay, Uncanceled today is brought to you by our friends at bestofferkc.com, helping you leave the hassle behind. They have a lot of great options for you, including the option to get cash early before closing. There's a family in Lee Summit that got money up front to help them with a challenging move because they had to leave the state and go to a cancer center, and they relocated their whole family. They sold their house fast with bestofferkc.com. They didn't have to worry about the cleanup, the pack up, anything. They're like, we're going to take a few of our possessions and go, and we're going to go do this and sell everything else behind. And they got their money. They got some up front for the move, and then they got it all at close. Bestofferkc.com will help you leave the hassle behind. There's a lot of reasons people need to sell their home fast. And over 10% of the homes sold in Kansas City are off market without an agent. It's homes just like this, where somebody's in a spot and you got to go. That's bestofferkc.com. Call 338-SOLD. 338-SOLD. That's 338-SOLD or bestofferkc.com, helping you leave the hassle behind. Oh, it's so good to have Mark back, chatting with him. We didn't have as much time today as others because Colonel Cluck was so great there. What do you think, Mark? Where can we find some of these go pills Colonel Cluck was talking about? We need you needed those when you got back from vacation, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm going to check out Quick Trip, maybe 7-Eleven. I don't think they'll have what they got, though.
They're not going to have what the V2 pilots have. Wouldn't you love to know what's in them?
I would. I don't think they're going to tell us, but I would be curious.
I mean, at this point, we'd be crazy not to come up with something called a B2 Go pill. Just put it in Quick Trip.
Might as well.
Put the stealth bomber on the label, the whole thing.
Smart advertising.
Unbelievable. Wow, that was just great. Hey, you got your Oklahoma City hat on there. They won the NBA Finals last night. I was hoping for a better game. It was, Indiana had the lead at the half, but with Halliburton hurt, did you think they had any chance of winning?
I think they were just running off emotion in that first half, and then it just kind of ran out. So Oklahoma City definitely the better team, but it was close. Indiana was great.
So Tyrese Halliburton, a star for Indiana, blew his Achilles out in the first quarter of this game. It was the third all-star player to blow out an Achilles in the NBA postseason. That's crazy. Did you know there were 3 of them, Mark?
I did, and the crazy thing is...
Say it.
I saw that they were all number 0.
Unbelievable.
I can't believe it.
It's
Damian
nuts.
Lillard.
Now, is that what KJ Adams had at the end of the KU game?
Yes.
And that was their final game.
Yep.
He's not number 0, is he?
I think he's 0-0, isn't he?
Are you serious?
I'm going to look, but I think so.
Well, we only got about 30 seconds left to look. How fast can you do it, Mark? Let's find out. KJ Adams is doing well. He's on the staff at Kansas for this year because he can't play. When you blow an Achilles, you're out for a year. You're just done.
He was 24.
24. Yeah, I don't know. I 00. That's the thing, I guess. I guess you could do that. Really cool. Thanks to Colonel Cluck for being on. Mark, great job. John, thank you. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for listening to Uncanceled. The Vince Show is up next.